What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Leveled Up Life podcast. Branamier Courtney, as always, here with my main man, Paul McClain.
Let's go, baby.
Looking good, bro, in the brown flannel, brown hat.
I feel like it just was appropriate, bro.
Matching today.
Yeah, I wanted to be stealth, you know what I mean? Like if I hide behind a tree or a forest, like ain't nobody gonna see me coming, bro. It's intentional.
I love it, man. I love it. That's all about intentionality. Hey, listen, we're trying to help you level up your life in all the areas that matter most. Come on, you know it by now. Faith, family, fitness, finance, franchise, helping you get to the next level in your life, man. There's something on the inside of us that just is like, dude, there's more to this thing called life. There's a better version of me. We've said this from the very beginning of like starting the church, like, man, the best is yet to come. It's not just like something we say just to make ourselves feel good, but it's like hey,
is the church ever going to say like, hey, it came?
It came, baby. It's gone. The best years are behind us. It's all downhill from here.
The best has already come.
No, dude, I think God puts something on the inside of us that says, like, dude, until he takes our last breath out of our lungs, like, there's still good things that could happen. And so I think just being intentional about living life with that, I think we're going to be 85 sitting in the rocking chair going, dude, our best days are still ahead of us, bro.
Yeah, you know, dude, to that point, bro, I'm glad you said it because the topic that we want to dive into today is really how to be present and purposeful. And I think this is something that, for one, will resonate with you and provide you significant value. I know that as I kind of thought about this, it just really kind of helped me with awareness of where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
And you can't defeat what you can't define. A lot of times we're battling something that we're subconsciously not aware that we're facing it. And the moment it gets brought to the light, it's like, okay, let me now choose and adapt and adjust and move a little differently. But I love you said this a couple weeks back, man. I can't remember what podcast it was. We'll drop it if we can find it exactly which one. But it was talking about like when you're here, you know, then you're focused on there. But once you get there, then there becomes here. And we're always kind of chasing that next thing. And that's not about the best is yet to come. The reality is, like, let's have joy in the process. Let's be present in this moment, not put our hope and everything that's going to, all of our good emotions like that out. Cast it in the future. Like once that happens, then I'm going to feel, you know, happy and fulfilled and enough. And my self-image and myself, identity is going to be good. Then once I get there, because I've done that many times. Like, man, once I get so many rental houses, once my bank account looks like this, once my relationship looks like this, once my kids behave like this, once whatever it is, then I'm going to be able to breathe like, oh, it's good. Right. And the reality is no, like you should have enjoyment in the process of doing the work. Like the joy is in the duty. It's in the process. It's in the work. It's not necessarily in the destination. It's in the duty, the process of getting to the destination. Because if it's always just held in the destination, once you get there, then what? Now you're depressed and let down because you thought it was going to be better. And then you realize that, man, I was really just excited and fulfilled while I was pursuing. Right? When I was pursuing, that's where the joy was found, was getting after something. Because if we're not giving, if we're not growing, we're going to have depletion in our souls is the way I look at it.
That's good, man. I think when you really break it down, the only place you've ever been is in the present. You know, like 2 hours ago, where were you?
It's good.
You were in the present. It wasn't the past then. It was the present then. And so I think God gave us this ability to dream, to have vision, to look forward, and also to look back. But if you live there forward or you live it back, it messes you up, right? Mm-hmm. So if you always live in the future, well then it's like it sometimes could bring frustration, right? It sometimes could bring like what you're talking about. It's like, dude, if I just get there, then I'm going to have all these things that I imagine I will have. But it's like you don't have them now. So there's this future version of yourself that you're like, well, if I just had that car, that rental, or that property, or that whatever it is, then I'd be happy. When the truth is it's not true at all.
It's not external.
Yeah, or the same is for the past. Like if you're always living in the past, it's just going to bring shame, guilt, right? Condemnation, insecurity. So it's like, dude, it's healthy to have a good future version of yourself, but if you're not living right here and right now, you're never going to do the things necessary to see that future version of yourself. And so you just miss out on all the good things going around you. And so I think we probably live in the generation where it's hardest to live in the present.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
100%.
Like, it's hard to just be present sometimes. Like, we got this thing called the phone. I don't know if you got one or not, but, dude, it is the enemy number one when it comes to distraction or trying to live a life outside of your present moment. So let's dive into it, man.
Yeah.
Let's get practical about it.
100%, man. I think, for one, dude, that's so good because at the end of the day, like, I feel like we've gotten more tools and resources in today's world than we did 10, 20, 30 years ago. I mean, it's so easy to gather information, to really kind of go after what you're pursuing, because a lot of it's available there for you, right? Yeah. You don't have to sit back and say, well, I wonder how I do this, like the game plan. Like, when it comes to reaching a goal, for one, you got to have the goal. You got to have, the vision of where you're trying to go and why you're trying to get there. But then the second thing is a game plan. And the third thing is the execution, right? And I think today, man, like the game plan has never been easier to get. You go in ChatGPT and say, this is what I desire to do. Give me the 5 steps to get there. And then you can ask him more detailed, layered questions. And you're going to have a better game plan than you could have had, working with somebody that was good at that field for 5 years, right? And so the reality is the execution nowadays. And but I believe that as much as it's a blessing to have that availability, it's also comes with a lot of responsibility. And I think that it does cause a lot of distraction and cause us to lose our focus on what's the priority, what matters most, And so for somebody that, is on here, I think the first step I would say is to ask yourself, where do you tend to put your focus? Is your focus tend to be in the past, in the present, or in the future? Because until you really identify that, we can't really get you to where you want to go. And so I sat down, I said, where's my future typically held? Is it in the past, the present, and the future? And Brandon, you said it perfectly. Like if I find myself in the past, it's usually evoking an emotion of shame, guilt, regret, because hope in the past is recognized as regret. And so if I'm thinking about the past all the time, I'm not going to be filled up to go out there and really create and generate a hopeful future, because I'm just going to basically look to the past and I'm going to recreate the future from the past. And now I'm just living in that same cycle. And I don't know how many people know somebody that's like 50 years and they've lived the same 50 years. Like every year it's the same year. And that's
50 years of experience, baby.
Yeah, the same year over and over again.
Got 1 year.
Bro, I remember having when I was recruiting, I have guys that I'd recruit, and this is back when I was like 22, like young. And I'd recruit guys that were like 50, and they'd be like, boy, how old are you? I'm like, 22. I got underwear older than you. And I was like, bro, first of all, you should get some new underwear. That's weird, man. Like, your wife ain't told you that yet. Second of all, like, what's the most you ever made? And they'd be like, 95 grand. I'm like, dude, if I'm making more than that and I'm 22, you've been repeating the same bad year over and over and over again, right? And so, but when we're living in the past, sometimes we do that. And that can be sequential. Like you can, in seasons of your life, you could be more past focused, more present focused, or more future focused. And so, Brent, how would you like help somebody that if they're sitting there and they're saying, okay, and they maybe what I would suggest is maybe even pause this or afterwards, like spend time really asking yourself and sitting there saying, where do I tend to find myself in the present, the past, or the future? But if somebody says, I tend to find myself in the past, like what would be some of the step-by-steps that you would give them to kind of help get from the past and really kind of put their focus in the present?
Yeah, I think well, the good thing is we have the ability to think about all three, right? So we have the ability to think about what's next and also reminisce on what has been, but yet live in the present. And so I think if someone's stuck in the past, like it really just depends on what their past is, right? So your past doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like you can reminisce on the past and think about all the good things that's happened and use those as like, I've done that, so therefore I can do this, right? So I think, number one, if you're stuck in the past, it's like not everything has been bad. Like I get it, some pasts are worse than others, but you gotta look to the past to go, okay, what has been good? Where were some glimpses of hope? Where were some things where I felt like, man, I did accomplish, or God did come through, or I had a small victory? And I think sometimes we tend to over exaggerate how bad the past actually was, and then undervalue or like make less than the good things that actually happened because it didn't feel as big compared to the bad things, right? We tend to make, like, we're a dramatic society. We love drama. That's why news is so popular. And so there could be a million good things going on, but one bad thing's happen, and you're like, dude, you see what happened? You see the car accident? Right? But dude, we didn't look at all the blessing. And so I think we do that with our past. And so for someone that's stuck in the past, I think it's depending on what it was, like number one, you might need to get some counseling and work through your past, your trauma, because there is hope, there is healing that can come from that. But number two, like begin to reflect on some good things that happened. Start to look at some small victories that you had, because the truth is, if you're alive and breathing, it couldn't all been that bad. Right? God still has you here for a purpose, which I think it kind of brings us back to our intro. Like the best is still yet to come. Like if you're alive and breathing, there has to be some hope. Like your purpose is not over yet if you're still here. And so find some small victories and start building like some momentum moving forward, and start dreaming. Like, dude, I'm naturally like a dreamer, right? I tend to live more in the future than the past. Like I tend to forget the past very quick. Like if you ask me what I did yesterday, I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like I gotta like look at my phone. I gotta look at my calendar and go, oh yeah, I did talk to that person, because dude, I just move on quickly. But that could also be like a bad thing, because it's like I'm always thinking about what's next. And so,
and not what's now,
you know, or like, dude, we got to get here, or I got to do this, or I got to have that. And so I got to purposely stay present in order for me to be the person necessary to accomplish the future version of myself, you know?
That's good.
What about you? What do you think about if someone's stuck in the past?
Man, I think you nailed it, bro. I think typically if you're stuck in the past, we don't realize we're stuck in the past. Like you don't like, it's a subconscious thing. I think the hardest thing that for people to do that they don't do is think. You know, like you're just on autopilot, right? You're just kind of moving. And I think it's easy to do because, you know, we're creatures of habit. Most of the stuff we do, it's just the same thing we've always done. And so that's where, you know, the present and purposeful, the first thing is like, where am I presently at? Where's my mind presently at? And I think you said it right, man. Like by intention, we can go back and look at it and find the good, and that's going to help us and support us to go after the now to create the future even that much better. But I think it's got to be by intention, man. I always thought about like the high desert. We've got weeds everywhere, right? Nobody went out and planted the weeds, and the weeds suck, dude. Nobody ever drives by an empty field like, man, this is some pretty weeds right there. It's beautiful, right? No, they suck, dude. In fact, if you like go out barefoot in that dirt field, you're gonna have like thorns in your foot, dude. You're like, this is terrible. Like, it's not a good thing that it's there, and it got there by default, right? It was native to the land, though, right? And I think that negative thoughts by nature are native to us. And so we have to intentionally do what? Well, if you want that dirt lot to look better, we got to pull out the weeds, and then we've got to intentionally sow in some good seeds. And then over time, we can say, man, that's beautiful. That actually looks good.
I think you got to, before you sow seeds, you said it, you got to clear out the land. Right? So you got to clear out the old, clear out the negative, make it good ground so you can plant something new. I think a lot of people are trying to plant new seed on old bad soil. Yeah. Right. And so you got to like, that's why it's so like you got to get in counseling. You got to get around the right people. You got to begin to renew your mind by the word of God. Right. And so that's good. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, I love the expansion, man. You made it better, which is what you usually do. That's why this is so good for me. But you know, I think that's the work. Yeah. The work is I got to pull it out. The work is I got to plant it. And the work is I got to be patient that even though there's a process and I don't see it yet, that I'm going to have a positive attitude while the process takes place, believing that it's going to come to fruition. And because I believe it's going to come to fruition, I'm more intentional to continue to do the work today because what I believe is going to come tomorrow. And so I think that, you know, a gratitude journal for one helps with that, right? Like now you're intentionally saying, because you're usually grateful for like something that's going on, right? Like I'm grateful, you know, for my kids. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for all these things. And so it's easy, I think, when you're intentionally going to block out some time every morning to say, this is my time where I'm going to now look back to all that is good. Well, now you're starting to train your brain to look back in a way to find the good, opposed to by default, just subconsciously always finding the bad, and you don't even realize it. Now you're just moving each day with anxiety, a sense of shame and not good enough, and then you go to work finding things to validate that emotion that you don't want. But if you go back and say, I'm going to choose gratitude, and I love what you said, like it shifts instantly, dude. Like we have the choice. And, you know, we're the author. Like, I love the old quote. And I can't remember who said it, but it's like people are pretty much as happy as they make their mind up to be. You know,
That's
like
good.
I mean that
Right.
you can meet a billionaire that's miserable. You can meet somebody that's homeless that's happy. I mean, like you're pretty much as happy as the movie that you have going on in your mind. But what are you looking at? You know, like what does it look like? And so I think gratitude for me, man, has been very, very helpful because I tend to battle with like not thinking I'm good enough, that I think I could have done better, and that could be with anything. I've never looked and said, man, really killed that. Like typically I'll find the flaw in myself of what could have been done better with everything I do when I go to look back. What's really helped me over the years is practicing gratitude. So now I'm not looking back at, like you said, you know, you want to have that short-term memory. I'm not looking back at the things I don't want to bring forward to the future. I'm looking back and looking at things that I was grateful for, I'm appreciative for, and then I can now put on a lens looking forward, working from an emotion of gratitude to find more things to be grateful for. Now everything's shifted and changed, right? And I think that's a big thing. Dude, have you ever been in a situation where, you know, it's something that maybe you prayed about that was such a blessing, and you're experiencing that, but you're focused on the future and your mind's looking forward, that you don't even really appreciate what the moment that you're currently in?
Yeah, every day. Well, a lot of good takeaways from what you just said. Number one, something that you taught me, like gratitude is a strategy. It's not just like a feeling that you get. Like you don't wake up every morning and just feel grateful. Like it's a strategy on how I start my day. And so getting a gratitude journal and intentionally reflecting on all the good things that have happened and are happening in my life right now will set me up for the future. But to answer your question, I think I do that in marriage all the time. It's like, dude, how many days were, like, if you think back to your single days, right, when you really like, I'm ready to settle down, I just want a wife, you know, and then you got one, and then 12 years in, you're like, she does something to annoy you, you're like, dude, what the heck's going on? You know, so like, but that was I'm living in an answered prayer. I'm living in the blessing. So you got to be purposely in, like, no, this is what I prayed for. I think I do this in business all the time. Like, dude, when business gets overwhelming, or I lose an account, or someone quits, or I got to fire someone, or I got to call in the middle of the night, I got to go clean up someone's mess. Yeah. It's like, dude, I'm like, I want nothing to do with this, you know? When church people are acting crazy, right? When we're trying to find solutions for all these different problems, and we're trying to help people. And so again, it's just going like, no, like, I'm here for a reason. I'm here on purpose. Like, I have what it takes to accomplish this task. Like, my dependence is on God. It's not solely on me, which I think is another big point of why we feel inadequate, because we think it's all on us. Yeah. Right. We think that we have to be the answer to every problem. Therefore, we see ourselves as not good enough, when it's like, well, the truth is you're probably not. You need God. Yeah. Right. You need the Holy Spirit to lead you in it. And so I think every day, man, to answer your question, is like, is there a lot of like frustration, or is there a lot of things that I feel like I can't do? Yeah, all the time. But like, I got to purposely remind myself, like, I'm grateful for what I have. I'm grateful for every opportunity. I'm grateful for the position I've been put in, and remind myself that I have what it takes to actually accomplish it. And so, what about you? Man, dude, all the time. I think that anybody that's got that spirit of entrepreneurship in them, and I believe to my core that I've heard people say not everybody's built to be an entrepreneur. I mean, if you look at an entrepreneur in its pure source, it's like a creator, right? You're creating something. And I do believe that everybody was created to create, right? And that might show up different ways in each person's life. Creating your family.
Yeah. I mean, like God made us in His image, and He's the ultimate creator. So like, that's our superpower, is to really be able to go out there and create a future, right? Like, nobody else can create a different future. Most of the creation was just designed to do what it does, right? They don't wake up and a dog doesn't say, I'm gonna start flying like a bird. Like, it doesn't work that way. But so, you know, I think for me, like, I've seen it show up many times. The funny thing is, a couple years back, I was talking about just being present, being, you know, in the moment. And if you're present, then you could ask yourself, like, what's the best way I can you know, handle the situation? Like, where can I provide value? Where can I extract value? Where can I create value? And I was just talking about it, dude. And that night, I was in the jacuzzi with Perlay, and she was trying to tell me something, and I was on my phone thinking about the next day. I was actually putting notes together for a talk I had to give. And Perlay's like, Dad. And I was like, what? Dad, can you hear me? Hello, Dad, are you there? You know, and it was just like this reminder of like, you know, what am I doing? It's like it's a thing that even though we can be aware of this, like, dude, like I had just spoken about it, like, and then I'm dealing with the spirit of hypocrisy. I'm like, dude, I'm a hypocrite, right. Dude. Like, I was just talking to people about this, and now I'm in this season where I should be having a conversation with my 5-year-old because we don't have a lot of time where we just get to spend together. Where I could just say, hey, sweetie, like, tell me about your school. What's your favorite subject? Just like kind of unpack some stuff and connect with her. And I'm looking at my phone, and what made me realize is like, man, it's all the time we're battling this. Yeah. Like right now, I got to make sure I'm intentionally here. And I got to ask myself, what's my purpose? My purpose is to provide you value. My purpose is to, you know, that, hey, I've messed some things up, figured some things out, gotten good circles and rooms. I get to connect with you, Brandon. Like, let's provide some significant value on this. Or I could be thinking about the person that I got waiting out there, which I do have somebody waiting out there, right? And what that conversation is going to look like when I step out of this podcast. And so, I mean, dude, I even have like a band, like a wristband on this, bro. Just and I still forget. Like my wristband says present and purposeful. Yeah. Just because I'm like, dude, I'm so easily in the future, right? And so I just think that it's okay if you've not been. Like, you know, if you're like, dude, I haven't been there like I wanted for my kids. Like I get home from work and my routine is my routine. I kind of go eat some dinner, watch some TV, and I don't have some time where I can connect with my kids. Well, that's all right. Like, you can't change the past. You don't have control over that, but you do have full control of your focus in a present moment. And I just think for me, Brian, a good question to always ask to stay placed is like, what's my best actionable move I can make right now? Yeah. So like if I'm with my daughter, what's the best thing I can do? Well, let me just be with her. Let me ask her some questions. Let me connect with her. Let me hear her heart, right? If it's, you know, if I'm studying for something, let me be focused there. Let me maybe turn my phone off and be in the Word and be present there, right? I mean, so like it's what's my next best move? Like how can I make this? I guess the best thing I would say is like, how do you make this moment matter?
Yeah, very good. I think just to get very, very practical. So I was meeting with our youth team at church, and I was talking about like what's something good to start teaching on the beginning of the year, like to high school students, because I think, and even to adults, I think so many people just live life out of rhythm, right? Live just kind of whatever happens in the day happens in the day. So I was like, well, let's do a series on like adding some spiritual disciplines, but let's call it rhythms, right? Some things to start adding into our life, like prayer, like journaling, like reading the Bible, worship. Having conversations with like mentors, like let's add some rhythms into our life, because like if you think about a rhythm is consistent, right? So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, like it's a count. But most people live life off rhythm or off beat, right? And if you ever heard a song or saw someone sing a song or clap or dance that's off rhythm, it looks weird. So that's why most people's life is weird, because they're like they got no rhythm to it. And so for me, I've started just being very, very practical, like adding rhythms to my life. So like, and I know the same is true for you. So you wake up in the morning and you do a certain thing every day. Yeah. It's like, well, this is just a rhythm. So it's like the gratitude journal, getting in my Word, praying. Then I start my day. As opposed to like, I wake up and I check my phone and I'm kind of hungry. So then I'll go get some food. Well, then the kids woke up. So then I go mess with them. Well, then Mariah's saying something. Then I go do that. And then I might get 2 minutes. So like, dude, there's no rhythm to it. Right. And so for me, number one, like I've been doing this for probably 3-4 years now. It's like, I do a weekly Sabbath. Like I have to, like it's on Mondays, like I don't work, you know? So it's just like, and everyone's different, but like I try to just shut off church. I try to shut off all American janitorial. Like I try to shut it all off because I need to reset. You know what I mean? So it's like, but that's a rhythm for me. On Wednesdays when I prep, I don't touch my phone because I know me. I'll get messed up, dude. I want to check this thing 78 times.
Yeah, you're good about that, bro. Because I've tried to reach out to you on a Wednesday, bro.
I know,
I'm like,
dude, I can't.
I'll be texting like, is Branamier dead? Like, is he okay? Because somebody would knock on his door. Is he alive?
I can't do it because, dude, I'll answer the phone and then I'll want to get up and then 2 hours later I haven't gone back to my desk. So like I've had to like, dude, don't call. Like I'll get back to you maybe tomorrow. But like just and everyone's different, right? At the end of the day, when the kids get home, like I spent a full hour with them, Like, let's go outside. No iPads. No, like, let's go play. Let's go throw the ball. Let's go mess around. Let's go kick the soccer ball. Like, so it's just like adding an hour, and then I'll get back to doing what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So for you, like, I think a lot of us got to take an inventory of our life and go, okay, where's my life have no rhythm in it? Like, and then adding good, healthy rhythms into your day will start to help. At least it helps me stay present in that moment, because I know, like, boom, kids get home at 3 to 4, like I'm playing with them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm not worried about my email. I'm not worried about if my phone rings, dude, I ain't answering it. 3 to 4, like, don't call me, because like I got to, like what you were saying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be kicking the soccer ball and then I'm also on the phone, because I'll do that too. Mm-hmm. So I leave my phone in my office. I'll leave it on silent.
It's good, dude.
So I think we just got to take an inventory of our life and go, man, I need to add in some healthy rhythms where I do the same thing all the time that helps me be present in that moment.
Dude, it's so good. Well, I think next week would be a great podcast to really kind of unpack how to design a schedule that's going to help you level up in all these areas of your life. But I mean, because what you said, dude, is so powerful. Any one of those things added to somebody's schedule currently will make such a big impact. And I really think it comes down to, like you said, it's like an audit, dude. It's like for one, let's do a thought audit, and for two, let's do a schedule audit. And I think those two things are going to reveal a lot of the trajectory of where we're going, right? And we all want to grow, we all want to get better, but sometimes, we're headed in the wrong direction if we don't sit back and do a quick audit. And that quick audit can now, all of a sudden, in a moment, you can shift it, right? Like, you could ask yourself, am I, more prone to think negative about situations, or am I more prone to think positive about situations? You just got to sit there with yourself a little long enough and kind of just start thinking, like, where does my mind usually go? Is it more negative or more positive? Okay, it's more negative. Well, let me start looking at things in more of a positive way, right? And then let me look at my schedule. What does that look like? What can I add in? What can I take out? Also, another thing is being able to say no, dude. Like, you're intentionally saying no on Wednesday. You're saying no to everything else, and so you can keep your yes at the highest level. And no different than Monday, you're saying no to all the other things, because the reality is it's not what you're saying yes to, it's what you're saying no to. If somebody calls and they have something that's going on, you're going to intentionally say that's going to be resolved on Tuesday. Yeah. And so a lot of times I think I know for me, bro, I just got to get better with my no's. Like, I like just to say yes. And sometimes that yes is not a yes that God wanted me to say yes to. He wants me to be more intentional and focused in this specific thing. And that yes is just going to cloudy and clutter up the yes that I'm supposed to be, carrying.
It reminds me of, there's a story in the Bible. I don't know where it's from. I think it's in Mark, where Jesus is going off to teach the disciples. And he tells the disciples, like, basically, and I'm probably butchering this, but basically he says, like, don't let anyone know where we're at. Because he was teaching the disciples. In other words, like, I don't want any distractions right now. Yeah. Like, I'm saying no to whatever happens. Now, that doesn't mean that Jesus or we can't have distractions, right? But it's like, at times we got to be purposeful in the moment. Like, don't let anyone know where I'm at. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm teaching you guys right now. Now, were there other times in his life, like, where he's walking through Jericho and a blind Bartimaeus comes and stops him in the crowd, and he stops what he's doing and heals a blind man, or he stops and he heals Jairus' daughter? Like, of course, like, there's always things that happen in life that you got to be purposeful in that moment. But there is times, like, where he goes, don't let anyone know where we're at. Like, I got to spend time with Perle right now. Like,
but that was his purpose in that moment.
That was his purpose in that moment. Like, I'm with you guys right now, and nothing else is going to take this time away. So there's a both and. It's not just like, I don't know.
I think, like, being present, just that alone will help everybody level up their life. And I'm talking to myself, because as I'm thinking this through, it's like I can easily look back and say, man, I've really messed up recently, getting just caught in the busyness of life. But being present is everything, meaning that if your level of presence with that conversation with your spouse or with your boss or whatever, if it's fully there, well, now that conversation leads to a higher level relationship if you're fully present. But if you're not, it doesn't happen, right? And then I just think as we move throughout this week, a question to kind of have just ruminating on our mind is how do I maximize this moment? Like, I know I've got a lot of things going on throughout the day. They've been planned. That's step one. It's planned. It's a rhythm of my day. I'm not confused about what I'm doing at 2 o'clock. I'm not confused about what I'm doing at 1 o'clock. And that's the first part, right? Because if you're confused and it's hard, now you're just trying to be purposeful in a moment that you're not supposed to be in, right? And so, but I think that's a big deal. Now it's like, okay, I'm going to have a conversation with this person. If my focus is fully there, I'm not thinking about just let's get through that conversation so I can get to my next thing. Well, that's the opposite. You can't maximize the moment if you're trying to get through something to get to the other side and get in front of something else. But my question is, how do I maximize everything? How do I provide value to that individual? How do I make that person feel heard and special? Well, that can only happen if I'm present and purposeful. And so I think it's phenomenal conversation, bro. Yeah. It's been really, really good.
That is good. I love it, bro. I hope this helps. If you're watching out there, share this with someone. Leave a comment. If you're distracted right now, if you're going through it, just type value in the comments. Let us know this is helping you, because it's definitely helping us just being here with you, bro. So
I love you, bro. Hey, let's go out there, level up, guys. Make it a big week. Stay strong. Be steadfast, and we'll talk to you next week. See you guys.